What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up, Rebels? Welcome back to Rebel Radio. I'm your host, Josh Levine. We're now back to our regular scheduled program after 3 weeks of bringing you live episodes recorded live at Coachella. If you didn't hear those, make sure you go back and listen to them. They're a little bit short, but I think they're really fun to do some interviews on the field. And now we're back with this week's guest is old Man Saxon. Shout out to Clint Schaff, the homie who put me up on Saxon and connected me with him. Saxon, if you don't know, is he's got a great TED Talk out about his experience living in his car for a year while he was working on his music. He raps about being homeless, and this dude definitely keeps it real. We get into some interesting topics. We talk about the Bow Wow Challenge, the Fire Festival. We get real topical this week on Rebel Radio. And we get some great lessons from old man Saxon and how to be vulnerable, how people get caught up, obsessed with money, how we as music fans are obsessed with authenticity, all kind of fun stuff on Rebel Radio this week, right after our EDM.com track of the week.
Took in a Gladwell book. I did it for the love shit. I know how them rap sales look. And a couple people try to tell me, nah, don't do it. That's drama. You'll be stuck in the genre that don't buy music. Other homies say enjoy the ride. My life is organized. I'm backstage slugging corn. Lick the bitch.
Yo, that was our EDM.com track of the week. That was Dunson with 10,000 Hours. When's the last time you heard somebody rapping about Malcolm Gladwell? I like it. That was on the hip hop channel. Go to soundcloud.com/hiphop for more just like that. Right now, let's get into the interview with old man Saxon. I got a few things, but yeah, I just learned, about you from Clint, and he's like good at putting me up on stuff.
Right, hell yeah.
So, and then, just checking out everything online. I'm excited to talk to you and get into it. I want to, we good? What we like to do is kind of get into your journey, your story of how it's all happened for you. But I think like what you're like, this conversation is so timely with everything that's happening right now. And, specifically like I think about the Fire Festival. I think about Bow Wow.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, but like I'm fascinated with that stuff. I'm fascinated that people would give Ja Rule money up front for something.
He's taking most of the blame for this just because he put his face to it. But
that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
And of course, it's not all his fault.
No.
And
he really had nothing to do with it, really.
But I think, what it stands out to me is that we're obsessed. I think we're obsessed with authenticity.
Absolutely.
At least feeling like things are authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And we're obsessed with money.
Oh, yes.
And that's not new, but we have a president who's, besides the fact that he's a lunatic and he appeals to other lunatics.
Very much so.
I'm sorry if you're a Trump supporter.
But
like the rational argument for why he should be president is because he's rich.
Yep.
Right? And nobody really no one wanted to even really understand, is he that rich as he claims?
But you have that stunting type of thing. Like,
for sure.
My girlfriend has a concept of Trump the rapper because he's kind of like that guy. You know? He just stunting and got his name on everything.
Exactly.
And especially like now, where we do have like Instagram, like I don't know the new feature. It's not Instagram Live, but it has like a Snapchat type of feature.
Yeah.
And I follow a bunch of rappers, and it's 24/7 stunting now. It's like all the time. Like if you go on Instagram, Offset from Migos always showing his chains,
for sure.
And it's also the thing where I don't want to be this rapper who's like, oh, the game is just wrong now, but because it's not. It's evolved.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that we all have to kind of keep in mind is how much times have changed to right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have rappers who are blowing up who were born with the internet as it is now.
Yeah.
And it's like the fact that you're getting all this information and you're always able to put yourself out there, it's 24/7 stunting. And it's something we're just going to have to get used to at this point because people will stunt.
That's the thing. And you know, so I go back to like Fire Festival. Yeah, Ja Rule gets the blame, but the reality is people were spending a ridiculous amount of money to try to go show how much money they have and hang out with people that pretend like they have a lot of money, these models or whatever, who get hooked up with free stuff, right? And it's really about that. I don't even know if I want to call it greed, right? But it's that obsession.
Yeah. And then, what's crazy about that, too, is people are paying like $12,000 to go to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And Bahamas is like dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Like you don't.
Yeah,
so it just shows like I'm paying. You're about to watch me stunt in like the cheapest place you possibly can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's once again, I don't blame anyone for like putting money in to do that, or if you want to, if you have it, you know, you use it. But yeah, we're definitely getting to a time where the idea, it's not even this time, it's always been the idea of having money means you have something, you have things, like even if it's not just like physical things, you are able to do whatever the fuck you want. Mm-hmm. And I think from my standpoint, when I was writing this album, was to be like, okay, most art comes from a dark place, and most great art comes from dark places. And it was just like, what can I do to kind of put my stamp on this hip hop game, but also juxtapose exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And
when I decided to like sit in my car, or sleep in my car for that year, I wasn't listening to any rap. I wasn't listening to anything else, just my beats and just writing and writing.
Wow.
And I think that is something that really helped me during that time, was not kind of getting, I don't want to say like, not getting too used to like hearing other people rap about things, because you do absorb some of that. And I have this thing like retired rap lines where it's just constantly used, and you don't, and I have to believe it's because it's used so much that it's just ingrained in people. And like, ice on my chain, it's just like French Montana's the captain of retired rap line. Hit it from the back, hit it from the front. It's like, yeah, okay, I've heard that before.
So how'd you first, let's go back, let's get into you and kind of go back to the beginning. Well, first of all, do you remember when you first fell in love with music?
Wow. Yes, I would say pretty much because I had a big brother, 6 years older than me. Whatever he listened to was what I thought was cool.
What was that first record?
Honestly, I would say the first real time I was like listening to music, I was like, oh, I get it, was probably X-Rated. I don't know if you know who X-Rated is. Sacramento rapper who raps. Oh, he's in jail for murder. Yeah. He was like the first Bobby Schmurder, where like they heard his raps and were like, oh, that's a coincidence. We're gonna arrest you because that actually happened.
Is that right?
Yeah. So he's in jail for murder, and he raps all over the phone.
Yeah.
And I just thought something about that too. Now that I'm even thinking about it, it's that concept of being in like a whole different place from everyone else, but still like being able to get your music out.
Yeah.
And he was a really good storyteller. X-Rated, Sacramento. Yeah, I love him.
Nice.
And then the first record I ever bought was DMX, Flesh in My Flesh, Blood in My Blood.
Okay.
So I don't know what to say about that, but I love
he had a moment.
He had one of the best runs actually in hip hop. I think he had one year where he had 2 platinum selling albums.
Is that right?
1 year.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. So yeah, DMX was the shit. Yeah. Not just the shit. He was the shit.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then how'd you get into, what made you want to start making music?
There's 2 answers to that. What made me start like actually rapping and doing music was in middle school we would have these battle raps. at lunch, and I was just like, that sounds fun. And there were middle schoolers were betting money on it. Till this day, I'm like, where did y'all get money? I don't know. But what made me start making music was during those times where I was just rapping and playing around, a lot of people were telling me I was good at it. And I couldn't just kind of like throw that to the side. And if enough people tell you you're good, it's...
Do you remember the first time you got up and battled?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll remember it always. His name was Josh Johnson. I was in, I was in 7th grade, and he was battling people. And before that, I used to write down lyrics of like E40, X-Rated, just to like see exactly what they were saying and be able to listen to the song. So I remember writing it and then rapping their lyrics, and then he, he was battling someone, and I was like, all right, I'll try. I'll do it, fellas. And he killed me the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember...
What was that feeling?
It was embarrassing. It was super embarrassing. But also, that was like the first time when you're at that age where you're like really hyper aware of like everyone and what they're thinking of you. And I was just like, oh, that's some bullshit. So I remember going home the next day and writing shit for him.
Yeah.
And I cheated, but I won. So I remember going back and I killed him.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of the thing where like every other week at lunch we would just battle, me and him. And he definitely started like me getting into rap. So yeah.
And then at what point did you start thinking that this was a career?
Okay. Yeah. So I would say, so if I started rapping when I was 12, I didn't think about doing it as a profession until I got out to LA. And even when I got out to LA, it wasn't like I moved to LA to become a rapper. But
what were you thinking you were going to do?
I don't know. Yeah. I came out here and I got a job testing video games.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the worst thing. It was one of the worst things ever.
That seems like...
I don't play video games anymore.
Oh, okay.
And it's because, think about... So I liked video games, but I didn't love them. But think about whenever you make something a job, especially something like that, where it's super tedious. I remember when I quit, we were testing a game it's on the PS Vita, called Silent Hill Book of Memories. It's like an overhead, regardless. It's had 500 levels on it. And each level took about between 20 to 40 minutes to do. So we would have to play all day, staring at the screen, this game. And the second we found a bug, something that made the game break, we'd have to write a report. They'd send it to the developers. So let's say there's a bug in level 200. They send it to the developers. They fix it. And they send you a new build. And you have to start from level 1 and play to 200 again. And it was just like, no, I can't do this anymore. And then I'd get home, my roommate would be like, hey, you want to play Madden? Like, no, don't ask me any, because it's work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was miserable. That shit was horrible.
That's funny.
Yeah. And there would always be a time, because when I did have coworkers that did love video, they loved that shit. So there would always be a time throughout the day, at least once, where I'd listen to their conversation and I would have to decipher between if they were talking about real life or a video game. And I remember that like freaking me out because he was like, yeah, man, me and her got into a fight last night. I was like, oh, you and your girlfriend? Then I pulled out the sword of destiny and cut her head. I'm like, oh, okay, man. Like, I have to go.
Wow.
Now. It was just too like, not in reality.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But then
so were you still trying to make music at that time?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But you do realize like when you do have 9 hours out of your day dedicated to going somewhere, you kind of lose that excitement for it when you not even 9 hours and you got to get it. It's a commute also, so it's 10, 11 hours. And I didn't have that fire to write and do shit like that. So I decided I did quit that job. And that's when it kind of was like, all right, let me just make music my job. And with that being said, almost contradicting myself about when something is your job, how it's like, it takes a little bit out of it. But when you really, really love shit, like I liked playing video games. I love making music. So when that happened, it was like, okay, like I can do this. Like I can really do this. But yeah, once I quit that job, it was just writing. And I also tried to start making beats, but it didn't happen. That shit is hard, dude.
Yeah.
Making beats is super difficult. So,
Sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't fuck with that.
So then, what was the, like, I don't know, what was there like signs of success that made you feel like?
No. And that's something that is pretty interesting because I have students now that like they take private lessons, and the best students are the ones that are like down on themselves a little bit, you know, like maybe I can't do this, you know, like maybe like what can I do to get better? And like that's where I was at.
Right.
I was in the point where it was like no one's fucking with my shit. Like what can I do to get better?
Yeah.
The students that are like delusional are the ones that are the worst. So
Right.
I'm not gonna lie and say during that time that I had signs of success, because I didn't at all. Like I was putting, you know, like the couple of people that would like it were my friends. It wasn't any like stranger or anything. So
And what was it? Was it the same? Was it the same kind of music that you're making now?
nope, not even close. And that's an amazing feeling too, because I put up on my SoundCloud, I still have some of the first music I ever made on there, just so I can personally see my evolution of it. I was talking about, you know, rapper shit. Like I tell people all the time, don't try to be a rapper, because then that's what you're gonna talk about. You're gonna talk about, you know, fucking bitches, making money, making it rain. Try to be you as a rapper. That's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Because everyone just wants to be a rapper. That what they show as rappers is, you know, awesome. Like fuck yeah, I want to go spin, like travel the world and touch big butts. But like, yeah, I was definitely just super down about it, about like no one fucking with my shit, and that definitely just helped me figure out where I needed to go.
So can you walk me through that process? Like, because some people would give up.
Yeah.
Some people would, you know, I've met a lot of aspiring musicians who blame everybody else. It's like, well, my shit is dope, so it's something politics or it's the this and that, right? That's really common. So what do you think? Give me that process. What did you do to take that feedback that was coming in the form of no success, right, and change your approach?
So what I did is something that I feel like a lot of people have trouble with, is listening to that feedback and really being able to know you as an artist exactly what to take in and what not. Of course, there's going to be people who are just like, oh, fuck you, and like, all right, well, fuck me. But there's people who are like, oh, you're talking about how much money you have. Like, I know you don't have that money. And that's the thing, like you were saying, authenticity, especially in hip hop, you cannot break that rule. So even if there is a little bit of falsehood in it, the audience just like knows it. They just know what you're doing. So I literally was listening to that feedback and trying to figure out what to do to make it better. Because it's not, I think a lot of people will attribute that to just like, oh, haters. But where I'm at now, if you're just kind of being real to yourself, is the most. And that's the thing about this. Like, my story comes with a lot of cliches. Like, you just got to buckle down and work hard and be true to yourself. But it's like real shit. Like, the more I was just like, all right, let me just talk about what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And it started from something as simple as, you know, my girl was trying to break up with me. And in the most simple cadence, most simple form. But I think getting that out of the way of being like, all right, well, let me be truthful with my shit, kind of took all the pressure off of the content and put it onto the quality of it. Because, like, content's taken care of. That's real shit. You do, you know, digest it how you want. And then it was like, okay, so how do I get better about telling it? So to answer your question, pretty much listen to what people say and with that being said, also don't give a fuck. Like it's
Right.
weird. It's a weird.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's
So
like,
are you like, because there's a balance, right?
yeah.
Are you conscious of that, of where you are in that balance?
In what way? You're
Like,
saying?
like you gotta like the right answer is, like you said, kind of listen, but also don't listen.
Okay, so yeah.
right?
And I think that really goes into once you get comfortable with yourself, knowing what works for you. Because it's also like when I'm doing that old shit about, throwing money in the air and everything, it doesn't feel right to me. So there's something in there like, and then when someone acknowledges it, you're like, oh, yeah, like that's exactly what it is. So now I'm at a point where I have people who like my shit, and I have some people that say certain things that like could make it better. Like, actually, pretty much a lot of people fuck with me. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something like that. Like one dude was like, the last video was like, oh, it got a little too weird for me. That's fine. Like I hear what you're saying, but that's for you.
Yeah.
So is when you're comfortable with what you're making at a time, it's like, what to take in and what not.
Right.
You
But I think what's so hard, and like I use the Bow Wow example, and it's like if he hadn't gotten caught,
Yeah. He'd be fine.
well, yeah, I mean we wouldn't be talking about
Nothing would
it,
happen.
but I'm saying like then his the feedback that he would have gotten would have reinforced that.
Of just like, oh damn, ball.
Yeah, like oh shit, yeah. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and he would have got a few thousand likes on that
Yep.
post and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just more encouragement.
Yeah.
Right, because I think that's what that's what people want. Now people also want to shit on you.
Yeah.
When they feel there's an opportunity to do that, and
Yeah.
that's what's happening to him. And I think it's he's in some ways he's like unfairly singled out, but
Oh yeah.
he got caught, and that's the price of celebrity.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing too is the audience is kind of, there's some base heads also, because you see these videos and like all the women, and a lot of people take that for face value.
Right.
So I don't see, it's a very thin line between like, I don't see the difference between Young Thug making a video with all these women and cars and all this.
Who are models.
Yeah, and Bow Wow lying about jet posts.
Yeah.
It's all ridiculous. It's all ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
But we have this thing from especially rappers. I think, to some extent other people too, but especially rappers, that we expect them to be telling the truth, which I think is an unfair. And rappers have created that for themselves too.
true.
By telling us that they're telling the truth when they're not. You know what I mean? And I mean, when I was coming up, like if you were pretending to be a gangster, like that was the end of your career, right?
Absolutely.
But I would say 99% of gangster rappers were pretending to be gangsters. They might have had a cousin, or they might have grown up in that neighborhood, but you were probably not gangbanging and also on tour.
Absolutely, no.
It's unlikely.
No.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is weird because rappers, like I was watching a Katy Perry video, Chained to the Rhythm, right? And the video is her like at an amusement park with all this stuff on, and she's weird, and she's riding a roller coaster. Awesome.
Yeah.
When you look at a rapper's video, it's not something that is unattainable. It's like, it's not them in the future doing crazy shit.
Right.
It's them outside of their old house holding guns in the air and shit. So it's like, yeah, like that seems like that can be real.
Right.
So I think we as rappers kind of put that on ourselves of not being so out there that people just they can't believe it. It's what we choose to put out there.
But I want to, talk about the responsibility of the fans, right? Because, it's the same thing, whether it's Bow Wow or Trump or Fire Festival, right? It all comes down to what do we accept as fans?
Yeah. So fans definitely have a big part of this because when And to get a little deeper, it's how we, especially in hip hop, which is like a black male oriented genre, how we see the black male as a whole, you know? So we like to be just comfortable with our categories and shit. So when the audience sees a black male holding guns and throwing money in the air and doing all this, it's to an extent they're comfortable with that.
Sure.
You know, so yeah, fuck the audience because they are a big part of that.
Yeah.
So what I do, if you see my last video, I'm dressed up in a turtle suit.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I don't want. That's like that Katy Perry type. She's like, oh, that's out there. Like, he's not a turtle, unless people think I'm a turtle. But like, people will believe that black people, you know, black people with money get gold teeth and ride around in Lamborghinis shooting out the air.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's everybody's at fault. Literally everyone's at fault for their portrayal of this genre.
For sure. It's funny you say that. I mean, I've always felt like the complete mainstream, you know, hip hop becoming completely mainstream is in a lot of ways tied to Eminem.
Explain.
Well, I was
You're saying like the white rapper that kind of got it to everybody.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
and hip hop was big before that.
Yeah.
But it's not. But the way it is today.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like he opened that door. I remember, you know, I was there and I was not particularly a fan. Like, I have trouble fucking with white rappers. And
I have a lot of friends.
I can't fully explain it, but but there's
voice. Like that was what all of my friends say is like you can just tell immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. There's something that just doesn't work for me.
I understand.
And but I remember feeling like, you know, he changed people's perception of what it meant to be a rapper.
Yeah.
Because before that, you used to think that you had to be from a certain place or grown up a certain way or of a certain ethnicity, or like it felt like there were rules, like these people can be rappers and these people can't. And I think for Eminem, and then more importantly for the generation behind him, like that definition started to change.
Okay. No, I could absolutely understand what you're saying. Because there were white rappers before Eminem, but not to that.
But not that big.
Yeah.
Right?
Not to that magnitude at all. So I mean, no, that's a pretty good point. Especially after him, like everyone was. Yeah. Kid Rock was like doing shit.
Totally.
Yeah. And with that being said, I do want to say, Eminem, it's crazy that you could easily argue is the best rapper of all time.
Oh, he's incredibly talented, right? Like I'm not.
Pretty crazy.
For sure.
It's like some random like white dude from Detroit could you would definitely argue.
But he's a dude, but he grew up in the hood. Mm-hmm. And he grew up living that rap life.
Yep.
Right? And that's part of what I think is so interesting about it is it was true for him.
Yeah.
Like I mean, talk about writing your truth. Like he was telling you about his marital troubles and what it's like being a father and all the shit that very much like you that other people weren't talking about or were trying to maybe hide.
Yeah.
Right? And so he was a real rapper.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe one of the best to ever do it. But it's the guys behind him who grew up in the suburbs who could then see themselves in that in a way they couldn't see themselves in DMX.
I think, no, that's a good point. With Eminem was in Detroit, he's an 8 Mile. He did have that experience. And I think also what happened after him was people definitely started seeing hip hop as a culture and something that was, once we get MTV and all these things where you can kind of take that in really fast, people could just say they're a part of the culture. And hip hop is like leaked into mainstream culture so much. I was watching some like Trump thing, I don't remember, but in the back there was like a graph and it said like shady practices. Like shady. Like that is that's like a hip hop term. That's in the White House and shit.
Yeah.
So I think after him, there were these kids from the suburbs and, that were being able to rap. But I think that is more of a call to how big hip hop is in general. So I have nothing wrong with like that subgroup of people, getting into the culture because, I mean, hip hop's a powerful thing. It's everywhere. It's in the Oval Office right now. So, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So talk about living in your car.
It was cool. It was like, so I was there for 13 months, just driving around, finding places to sleep. The first 4 months probably were miserable because, like, I didn't get it. I didn't get what I needed to do to be, for lack of a better term, comfortable. And I started figuring out where to sleep because it's LA. Like, I was trying to sleep in like Koreatown, like the crazy spots and shit, where like other people were sleeping in their car.
Right.
But that was a horrible idea. It was horrible. My car got broken into while I was sleeping in the back twice.
Oh, shit.
2 times. I'm passed out in the back of my car and I hear, doom, it's the door closed. And I look up and I look in the back and there's just like a SUV shining its lights behind me. And I was like, okay. I just went back to sleep because I was like, none of that could have happened. So I just went back to sleep. Woke up again. I heard doom. Look up. Same car behind me. Okay. Drives, pulls away. I was like, I have to move now. So I go drive to like another street. Start patting my pockets. Oh, my wallet's gone. All right. So what the fuck do I need to do? What was that last thump that I heard on my car? I drive back. They threw my wallet back because they probably saw me in the back seat. Yeah. No money, took all my money. Yeah, but at least like left my damn ID and shit so I could like live.
Yeah.
Second time, funny, this is still the funniest story to me. I wake up in the morning, can't find my phone. Fuck, there's a dude pushing a cart. I saw him last night. I get out. Hey, sir, did you see anyone go in my car last night? No, I didn't see anyone in your car. What the fuck is it? No, wait, what? No, I'm just asking, did you see anyone in my car? Man, fuck, man, you better get the fuck away from me. Sir, oh no, someone in my car. Yeah, I stole it. Sold it for drugs. Sir, what did you just say? Did you steal my phone and sell it for drugs? Man, you better get the fuck away from me. So it keeps going. Sir, did you steal my phone? Sir, did you steal my phone? If I'm lying, I'm dying. He sits down on the sidewalk, gets a piece of chalk, and starts writing, "Did you steal my phone?" I look down at the sidewalk. There's hundreds of sentences that he has written on this sidewalk. I was like, this is your area. So I'm going to leave now.
That's your toll.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, you're in my place now. So that was terrifying. It was like some paranormal shit. But once I got used to it, it was awesome. Like, I didn't need shit. I didn't need anything except music and a pillow and like a pen. That was all I needed.
How did you make that decision?
I was broke. I didn't want to. I was always living with other people. So I was, in a way, always having to go by what they were doing in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. And that was affecting my music. So that's the next step now. First it was my job. Now it's people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to like fuck. I had people that were like, no, yeah, you can come live with me. I don't fuck that. I would have to sleep on their couch in the living room, wake up when they wake up, just a bunch of bullshit. So I was literally just like, I'm just gonna be by myself for a little bit. And honestly, one of the best times is not having to fuck with people. Like, I'm an introvert. Like, deep down, I'm an introvert. Yeah. When I'm at home, I'm the most comfortable. But like, I was always at home and I was always by myself. And I was also out in the world. Mm-hmm. And those 3 things were just so calming in like every aspect. Once people weren't breaking into my car. But after that shit, it was tight.
So what do you think the biggest lesson that you took from that experience?
One of the things, and I heard this on the radio while I was in my car. So some I don't remember who, but he said, if you don't like being with yourself, then you're not in the right company. And once I like got to just do me 24/7, I just realized I wasn't necessarily that comfortable with myself in the beginning. And now I'm in a place where like having gone through all that, I'm more comfortable with myself and around people like way more because I'm just willing to be who I am. And if you like me, fuck you. Another cliche. So yeah, that was it. That was like the main thing of being like, and then also working at what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like really working at what you want to do. I know now that when I was trying to make music at the beginning that it wouldn't have worked. I wasn't taking it seriously. So yeah, those definitely were the main things of just being comfortable with myself and working on my terms.
So I know now you teach, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But you teach rap, which I think is fascinating.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
But how do you teach people? Like, you've suffered for your art.
Yeah.
And I think, this is some old man shit, right? But there's a value to that, and maybe even it's maybe even necessary, right, to do that. But in a lot of ways, you don't have to do that, right?
You don't.
Especially if you come from a certain, if you have certain means, right?
Yep.
You can get some software real easily, and you can be a rapper tonight.
Yeah.
And a YouTube star tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
Like, so, so maybe you don't have to suffer. So how do you teach people the value of that?
I think everyone in some way, shape, or form has suffered, and I don't think it's so straightforward as in you have to live in your car or something. I think even like the richest people with some of the, with access to the most things have suffered in some way. And a lot of the times in my private lessons in rap class, I mean, these are kids that have their parents paying for them to go to school, so they're probably not, struggling that much. I ask them, what is something that you don't want to talk about? And just that alone means that's something inside of you that you're like, okay, well, I had one kid I don't even want to talk about everything he was going through, but by the end of the session, he was crying because it was like, oh, well, that's nuts. So talk about what you don't want to. And because even to some extent, that's suffering.
Yeah.
Like you have something that you needs to be said that you can't say it. That's suffering right there.
Who does that when you think about your heroes or your influences? Who does that really well in music?
That talks about...
That like just goes into, the bears their soul.
I would say Eminem, actually. I would really say Eminem. When you even think about the story Stan, it's one of the craziest stories told in hip-hop. Nowadays, it's Kanye, but Kanye's kind of lost what he's complaining about not getting millions of dollars for a deal in a fashion show, and it's like, okay, but that's suffering for him now. It's crazy.
I mean, we could do a whole thing, like we could do a whole show on Kanye.
I'm trying to teach a class on Kanye. I really want to.
Well, he's like half Trump and half the best rapper ever.
Absolutely. I think people overlook how good he is as a lyricist too. Kanye is dope. Producer, he's one of the best ever.
Yeah, but he's such a lunatic
Yeah.
and an asshole that it's like, I don't know. I mean, you have to wonder how much those things go hand in hand.
You do. And that's part of why I started sleeping in my car in the first place, is seeing the story of people that have gone from that to that, nothing quote unquote to something. And even the people that are crazy and, kind of make this status for themselves. And I personally think I was crazy, so I was like, oh, let me see what actually goes into why this works. Steve Harvey was home, I did a lot of stories. Siddhartha, who was left everything to try to find himself, cliche, and like really found a deeper meaning to everything behind that. So Kanye is absolutely crazy, and he's a genius, and I don't think maybe people should go crazy. Maybe they just.
I mean, I think there's also a lot of crazy people who aren't geniuses too.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So-
Absolutely.
So maybe first know that you're a genius, then go
Yeah.
crazy.
Absolutely.
What'd you learn about homelessness?
Everyone's homeless. Like everyone, it's not even like hyperbole. Everyone is homeless. Like there was so many people sleeping in their cars that I saw every single day. I would go to this park, Barnesdall Park up in Silver Lake, and just sit there, and I'd see the same people from the night before, just chilling in their car. Old dude with like super old. He has to be still living in his car. Actually, no, I know he's still living in his car. He has to have been living in his car for over 10 years or something because he was just super used to it, super content. And I also think that there's the stigma that when you think of a homeless person, you see a dude on the freeway holding a sign and everything. But I think that's kind of selling short the problem of homelessness in general. Like there's so many people that are homeless. And then with that being said, is something that I learned while this was happening is the term homeless is so like ridiculous. We're defined by what you don't have.
Right.
Like you're homeless, and that's it. That's all you are.
Yeah,
you don't have a car. You're not carless or anything.
Right.
Like our pressure to own property is intense. Where it's like, you don't have a home. So that's something else that I realize we kind of separate these people so intensely that you create this visualization of them when they are just normal ass people who don't sleep inside. Right. And that's what I realized too. Is like, I'm Saxon still. I just don't sleep in a bed. And I think a lot of people would benefit from just talking to someone who is experiencing homelessness, as people say.
Sure.
So, yeah, it completely turned. Because I remember when I was really young, I used to think the term homelessness, because my family would always say, "Oh yeah, he's sleeping on the street." I used to think they actually slept in the middle of the street. Like that's really that gets ingrained in your brain.
Which some people do, right? But but I think that's one of those things is similar to other stuff we're talking about that like is just largely misunderstood, and that we look for a very simple definition, a very simple answer, right? And we have this mental picture of somebody that's on drugs or somebody that's mentally ill, and obviously that's true sometimes.
Also very true.
And sometimes not.
Absolutely.
So what made you want to teach?
Okay, so what's funny is I've always wanted to be a teacher, and I never wanted to deal with kids. Like, so it was like a weird thing,
right?
Where like I could have probably taught in a middle school,
right? But
those are the worst. Middle school kids are the worst.
For sure.
And so what happened one day was my friend who works at the Musicians Institute, he's a bass instructor, he hit me up one day. Like, they said they need someone to teach rap. And I sent them all the stuff and everything. And so I was like, all right, you can teach rap. And I just remember thinking, like, how shit just works out like that, because I've always wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't want to teach kids about, state capitals and shit. So now I'm like doing exactly what I want. So yeah, but it's a weird job. It's a really weird job because I have to constantly tell people that Tupac didn't have a rap teacher. And like, it's just, I can only help them so much before it's just like, all right, figure it out. Like, just figure it out, dude. But the one thing that I do, and I'm curious to see what you think about this, because I have to teach the history of rap, right? And I teach them that, but I always preface it by saying it's not important. Damn, that's deep. Always. I say it's not necessary for you to learn. And
I'm torn on that.
I want to know what you think about it.
I'm torn, and because I think you're right. I think, a lot of it is just doing what's inside you.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's much more important. And I think it's also much more important to be timely,
Yes.
right? That, and again, depends on your goal.
True.
If your goal is to make a legacy that lasts beyond you, then maybe the timeliness is less important. But to break through and to get noticed, right, as an artist of any sort, like being part of whatever's happening right now is more important. So I for those reasons, I agree with you. I think, but the context also matters.
Absolutely.
I think I think there's some responsibility that comes with being part of a tradition that stems back decades and maybe even centuries, right? Depending on your perspective. And so, so the more aware you are of that, and the more you would, and presumably, like, you'll be a better artist having, these certain influences.
Okay.
Right?
Absolutely.
And allowing those things in, and allowing, understanding what the community around you or before you considered great work.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's important too. Now, absolutely. I don't know that it's either or. Like, what I mean is, like, yeah, you could probably be great without the history.
Yeah.
But for somebody else, that history might either inspire you or inform your process, or give
which
you
is
tools.
why I do always teach them that.
Yeah.
I think a couple of things is, one thing is interesting is, you're writing about what's inside of you. And I think music as a whole is so much based on your experiences that whatever you put out is going to be what was inside of you.
Yeah.
So if you learn the history or not, I can only assume that having the history inside of your experiences is going to shape how you make music from then on out. But if you don't, just make what's inside of you, you know?
Sure.
So I want them to be super aware that, especially with the term old heads in the hip hop game, they want you to know. And if you don't, it's crazy.
But that's because it means something to them, right?
Absolutely.
Or to us, right?
Yeah.
To speak as one of those, right?
Absolutely.
It means something to us, but that doesn't mean it needs to mean something to a 19-year-old.
Not at all.
I think, there's reasons why we want it to, right? And I think, part of, like, I've said this on the show before, for me, being a hip hop fan is hard work.
Yeah. Okay.
Today.
Explain.
Oh, because hip hop sucks. Mostly. To my well, here's why.
Okay.
Like, here's why. Because the current hip hop has so little resemblance and so little connection to something that was such an important part of my life. Okay. At one time. Okay. Right? And so I had this experience the other day. I was sitting in my office, with a kid who's 22, listens to whatever, Migos and
Lil Yachty,
all that, right? Yeah. And, like, I was playing Gangstar, and he walked in, and I was like, we didn't even have a conversation, but in my head, I was like, this doesn't even sound good to you.
Probably not.
Because it's not related, and it's thin, and it's like, you know what I mean?
I completely understand what you're saying.
And so I think there's a longing for that to continue.
Yeah.
And it's not continuing. It's a new thing, and it has to be a new thing. And I could see it as, like, the people that grew up with silent film or with black and white film or with, these certain things that were so meaningful at a time in their lives. I think now, I understand now what the rock guys have gone through.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all right, but the game is just very saturated right now. And I think it's really easy to see in the mainstream, especially if you listen to the radio, that tradition kind of isn't going on.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just that you have to look harder to find what you used to listen to.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's still being made. Of
course. Of course.
And I think the thought that hip hop, which is a pretty popular thought, that it's not that good or not as good anymore, it's all subjective.
It's all subjective.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
But I think that there's so many really, really good hip hop artists right now. But we just, as a society, we're nostalgic anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, and especially for people who have music that they grew up on, like there will never be anything
that's
better,
your shit.
really. There'll never be. So, yeah, I just think that I don't think hip hop sucks. That's what I have to say.
I'm paraphrasing.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But
So okay, I have a little speed round before we wrap up, and
right.
they're gonna throw us out of here. But I guess my last question before we get to that is, what's the when you went through living in your car and you re-examined your connection to music and how you're gonna make music and all that. What's the goal now?
That's deep. A lot of things just went through my head right now. I think the first thing is to kind of show my family, I have a daughter now, to show her that you can kind of make a living and be very comfortable doing things that you really like to do.
Oh.
And I think being able to do that would be a really big goal for me, because I could, work at the water department and come home, see her every once in a while and hate my life.
Mm-hmm.
And because that was what I was going to do in Denver.
Yeah.
But I think showing her that would be amazing. I think being able to grow with this new hip hop culture and kind of be a name that people champion would be a really amazing thing. And obviously to leave my mark and just be great at what I do. I think that would be fucking awesome.
Dope. Dope. All right. So if you can go back and give one piece of advice to yourself at 18, what would you say?
Damn. Be more vulnerable. Be way more vulnerable. And just, I think something that I learned way past when I should have is when we had this chant in Pee Wee football, and it was just to do it. It was to participate, to do my best. After I done my best, to feel and say, I've done my best. To play my best. And after I've played my best, to feel and say, I've played my best.
Wow.
And I remember getting to like 25 and being like, oh, that was the deepest shit I've ever.
Yeah, that's deep.
To feel and say that I've done my best. I think there was a lot of things happening when I was 18 that I couldn't necessarily say that. Yeah. That I was just kind of just going with it, and, trying to be cool and shit. But that would be definitely something that I would want me to know is when you're the alignment between what you think, feel, do, and say is the craziest shit. Mm-hmm. It's like exactly how you should want to live your life.
Yeah, absolutely. What talent have you always wished you had more of?
Making beats. I really wish I could make beats.
Yeah.
It's always like hard to explain to producers what I'm hearing in my head, and it will just never actually happen unless I make it my own. Mm-hmm. And then also balloon animals. I would like to.
Okay. That's probably good for your daughter.
Animals, yeah.
So if I worked for you on your team, what's something I would hear you say over and over?
Bitch. I call all of my friends bitches. Okay. And I think once you get the bitch title, you're the homie now. Okay. And it's not like, I really don't mean it in the derogatory term at all.
Right.
But whenever you do something stupid, it's just so much harder to explain in detail what you did. It's just way easier to go, bitch. And that's it. They know. They know exactly.
That's great. So who would you be most excited to learn as a fan of your work?
Wow. Jude Law. Because that means I did something right. That
Okay.
means, damn, I did some real shit.
Hell yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
What's the last great book you read?
That's so funny. I was just talking about how I don't read, and the last
That's
book
all right.
that I read was BFG, Big Friendly Giant,
Okay.
when I was like in middle school, dude.
All right.
That's sad. Damn it. Everyone,
You don't have to read. It's not.
yeah, you don't have to, but I don't want to be the guy who discourages reading also, but to answer your question truthfully, the Big Friendly Giant.
Quite all right.
Yeah.
So what movie do you think you've seen the most?
Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, that's
a great one.
Amazing movie.
Yeah.
I know every scene that comes on, I'm just like, oh yeah, I like this. Like every scene, and then actually that's not true. The movie Friday After Next, because we had like this bootleg cable once, and it would just keep playing over and over and over again. So I saw Friday After Next like at least 73 times, and then Head of State with Chris Rock
with
and
Chris
Bernie
Rock.
Mac.
I'm about to watch that with my son.
It's both really great movies.
Head of State is great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I always get next Friday. I always get
Next
them
Friday?
too confused.
Friday After Next is the Christmas one
Okay.
with Terry Crews. And,
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's
It's so
funny.
ridiculous.
That's funny. And do you have a favorite DJ?
DJ Jedi. He works at Musicians Institute.
Oh, okay.
And I fuck with him, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dope. Thanks for doing this, man. That was so
No
much
problem.
fun.
Yeah, this was funny.
I love the stories. Should come back anytime you want to promote something. How's everybody find you online?
Old Man Saxon on everything. Just Google me.
Are you pretty active on the social?
I still don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't understand what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I need a tutorial or something.
Well, I don't. I mean, I think the answer is like what you're already saying, which is this: like everybody's got their own. You got to do what feels natural,
Absolutely.
right? And I think the people, what you should do is post pictures of yourself with like private jets, because you'll get a lot of hits on that.
I should. You're right.
But no, I think like, the people that do it well, some do it a lot, some not as
Yeah.
much, but it just like
Yeah.
is a natural extension.
Yeah, you're
of
right.
it.
And right now, what feels natural is not doing anything. So that's what sucks.
Yeah, no, but that's probably better than trying to force it.
Yeah. But I have to. You have to be that person now. So
Well, people want access,
yeah. Yes.
right? And
Yes.
they want content, and as you said, it's so saturated that you have to then
People
saturate more.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that was Old Man Saxon on Rebel Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you leave us comments on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want. You can send us an email if you happen to know our email address. And don't forget to check out our new YouTube page, youtube.com/rebelradionet. All the socials are Rebel Radio Net. You can find us there. And most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio.